Welcome back to Likely Marketing, the show where we explore the boldest ideas shaping the future of marketing. Today, we are diving into the world of digital PR and link building with a true industry expert. Our guest, Chris Panteli, is the co founder of Linkifi, a premier white-hat digital PR agency dedicated to providing done for you services. They specialize in expert quotes and digital PR campaign link building, and they boast a distinguished track record of securing the most prestigious links from tier 1 publications. Today, we'll explore a wide range of topics, starting with Chris's journey, get a grip on digital PR and link building, and a lot of many other topics in that space. So, if you're looking to amplify your brand's authority and stay ahead of the marketing game, this episode is for you. So, without a further ado, let's get it started. Chris, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on, Shiv. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great. And Chris, if you could just, start off by, sharing your journey from, about starting Linkify and to where it is now, and
Yeah,
what inspired you to focus on digital PR link building. I think that will be a good place to start.
yeah, sure. So about 4.5 years ago, I started a personal finance website, and started to take off. Started to make some money. I was running a fish and chip shop in the UK at the time. So I
Mm-hmm.
graduated from university with a degree in economics, and then I went straight into the fast food business. So natural progression there. Um, I started a personal finance website after seeing some of these really inspiring sort of blog income reports from people making tens of thousands of dollars a month from their blog. So I thought I wanted to give that a try. So I started a personal finance website, and we it started making money. Started to get to about $1,000 per month. And I quickly realized that backlinks was going to be a significant part of future success for the site. That's when I started to learn about Harrow and answering journalist requests. Um, and I got quite good at it. It took me some time to get any real traction, but I landed my first big link on the New York Times, and then it sort of snowballed from there. And I was able to land links and coverage in publications like Bankrate, Forbes, New York Post, huge publications, quoting me and linking back to my website. It was at this time that I thought I wanted to explore other types of link building, and I wanted to run a guest post campaign. So that's when I looked to outsource that to who is now my business partner. He looked at my link profile and said, "Hey, I can definitely help you out with with a skyscraper guest post campaign. But could you tell me how you got all these links on places like Forbes, New York Times?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been doing this Harrow." And he said, "Do you think that you could do that for some of my clients?" And I said, "I don't see why not." So I started doing some link building for his clients, and then we sort of noticed there was a real organic demand for this sort of link building, as it's quite labor intensive. And Linkify naturally grew from there, and yeah, we've never looked back.
Wow. And you were earning $1,000 a month back when? Which year was this?
This would have been about 2007, 2008, 2018. No, to
Wow.
about 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And this is interesting. And just Chris, and since we are on that subject of link building, in your experience, how does it, digital PR link building, really sort of differentiate from traditional link building strategies, right? What are the
Mm.
unique advantages that digital PR link building has over other forms of link building?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, for us, it's really that it allows you to get coverage and links from the biggest, most powerful and authoritative websites on the planet. And you are doing this by editorially earning that, as opposed to a guest post campaign, which, if anyone has ran a post campaign in recently, you'll know it's a pay to play game
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Um, Niche edits and these sorts of other tactics. While I think
Mm.
that they have a place, and I think it can be part of a good holistic strategy. I think
Hmm.
the beauty of digital PR link building is that you are aligning your own brand and website with household name websites as well. So apart from
Mm.
the inherent SEO value of links
Right.
from huge websites with huge traffic, you also get all of the other advantages which we're seeing now as well, such as, I think this is where LLMs are uh, taking their training data. So if
Mm.
you want your brand or business to be mentioned in, Perplexity or ChatGPT, I think you need to be getting coverage in tier one publications in order to for these LLMs to be trained on what they believe to be trusted sources.
Mhm.
It also has the advantage that um, you're getting that SEO advantage, but you're also getting that brand recognition and trust. So
Right.
if you, I call it the Shark Tank effect. So if you've ever watched Shark Tank, it's like the US version of the Dragon's
Yes.
Den in the
Yes.
UK. You'll notice that if you go on a Shark Tank product page, homepage, you'll see that they say, this is the unbelievable toilet flusher as featured on Shark Tank, and then like a handful of other big websites that you've heard of. And
Right.
this is just giving the customer that lands on that website that instant trust factor, trust signal, which can increase conversions. And also, if Google sends a human quality rating to your website as well, you're going to have much more chance of them taking you seriously because you have aligned yourself with these bigger, more recognizable brands and publications.
So, you touched upon two, I think, very important points. One is LLMs, and I'll come to it in a bit. But what I wanted to understand was, so you're getting your clients these high quality links from highly authoritative websites. Uh, is there any specific process, or is it a sort of a digital version of the traditional PR as we know it, or there is some special process that sort of goes behind that everything that you do?
Yeah, I think you can break down digital PR link building into sort of two main buckets. So that
Mhm.
would be inbound. So that's where the opportunities are coming to you. So that would be platforms like Harrow, which now no longer exists, but there are
Mm.
plenty of other options. SOS, which was Peter Shankman, who was the original founder of Harrow. That's his new platform. You've got places
Okay.
like Response Source, Quoted, Pressplugs, Editorial. There's a bunch of places. You can also track journalists on social platforms, and
Hmm.
you'll see this happening all day, every day. Journalists looking for experts to quote in an article that they're working on. So
Right.
these are opportunities that are coming into us. So let's say a journalist at Forbes is working on an article about the Oscars, let's say,
Hmm.
and you have some sort of expertise, or your niche is somewhat aligned to the showbiz or the movie industry. Then that would be a perfect opportunity for you to answer that journalist's query with your commentary, with the hope that they're going to include it in their article,
Hmm.
and link back to your website. The other side, I would say, is outbound opportunities. So
Okay.
that's rather than waiting for the journalists to be looking for experts to quote in an article they are actively working on. That's
Hmm.
where we would come up with a story that is going to resonate with something that's currently happening in the news cycle, maybe reacting to current events, maybe a
Hmm.
data led piece, something that we think is going to be of interest to journalists. And we build a list of journalists that we think will be receptive to that story, and we send
Hmm.
them the stories with the hope that they like what they see, they think it will be of interest to their readership, and then they will create a new story around that press release that we send to the journalists. So I would say those are the two main ways that you can approach digital PR.
And how, I mean, do you prioritize outbound over inbound, or do you do both, depending on the client's requirement? And I'm assuming even product or service or industry would have a might be influencing factors there, right?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say the way that we approach it is client by client, niche by niche, season by season. So there are many factors that go into what is newsworthy at any given point.
Okay.
So you also need to have consideration of the client requirements, and that will give you a good indication as to which is the best path. Ideally, you want to be engaging in both. In recent weeks and months, I think outbound has become more difficult. I think journalists are getting bombarded with a lot of crap, especially
Yeah,
with the advent
yeah.
of AI. I think inbound is still a really good place to be active as long as you've got those relevant credentials, and it's easily verifiable for the journalists to check that you are who you say you are. You have the
Okay.
expertise, the credentials that you claim you have, and the comments that you're making provide value to the journalists. But again, like I said, for example, if you had a gardening website and we were approaching the gardening season and lots of journalists were writing about gardening topics, then both of those
Right.
routes would be good. If, however, let's say you are in the travel niche, and we've
Hmm.
just gone into the winter, outbound and inbound is going to be trickier. So you need to really assess and see where those opportunities lie.
So you just mentioned about, inbound being comparatively more attractive to outbound in the current scenario. Uh, from that perspective, and you also mentioned that, the journalists, prefer to look at the credentials of the clients. Uh, for a startup, or a business that has not done much in that space, so do you also help them build up those credentials, or is it some other approach that needs to be followed for digital PR?
Yeah, again, good question. Yeah, we can help. To be honest with you, Shiv, it's actually super simple.
Okay.
I see so many like websites that might approach us for like an initial discussion,
Mhm.
and they'll be they won't have what's needed to be successful.
Hmm.
Visible, but they've got it. They just haven't implemented it. And I'll tell you now exactly what you need. So you need an expert spokesperson representing the website. And that
Hmm.
spokesperson needs to have clearly definable qualifications and credentials in a broadly related niche.
Okay.
Um, so let's say, for example, a SaaS tool that was tracking sort of calories and fitness related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would need ideally somebody from that SaaS company that has got skills and credentials in fitness and weight loss. So it's going to be like a health related skills and credentials. Now, not all SaaS tools have that, although you would possibly consider that someone on their content team, if they're writing content around the thing that their SaaS is involved in, that they
Right.
may do. But if they want to target those sorts of links, so like health, nutritional, those sorts of that sort of coverage, then they must have a person that's got those skills and qualifications, like a nutritionist or fitness instructor, somebody with the skills where they can engage the media um, around those sorts of topics. If they've got that person needs to be clearly visible on the website. So the about page, and also have a LinkedIn profile that clearly states that they work for that company and that they've
Yeah.
got those skills and credentials as well. Because the journalists will check and everything must track through. So they're not going to do like a CIA, FBI leveled investigation into the
Sure.
person, but they are going to click on the website, click on the LinkedIn profile, and
Right.
if Shiv, if you're working for a SaaS fitness app and they click on your LinkedIn profile and it says that you're a podcast host and an SEO manager, and there's no indication that you've got any fitness skills, then they're just going to not even entertain your comments. Now, that's
Mm.
not to say that if you've got a SaaS company involved in like the sort of fitness arena, that you have to go after those health and fitness related queries. You could have a really, really strong profile associated with the website that's a marketing expert or somebody in human resources, or maybe
Mm.
the chief financial officer, in which case you can target the opportunities in and around those subjects. But that person must clearly have those skills and credentials, and you must be answering and engaging the media in and around the topics that make sense for that expert spokesperson for the website.
And I've also seen this in my career, Chris, that what you just said, that it's pretty simple. Frankly speaking, I have still found it to be the most missing aspect for
Mm,
most of the brands
mhm,
and the leaders. So they don't optimize their LinkedIn profiles well. They don't, work hard on their about us, or fundamental aspects.
mhm.
And I think that is very important, and it goes a long way. I mean, you want to do digital PR at some point in time, but this is hygiene. But I've seen that to be, found it to be missing in
Mhm.
many cases.
100%. Yeah.
And Chris, going back to one more thing that you mentioned, that as part of the process, you have some of these platforms like SOS, where you're reaching out, you're or sort of finding out journalists who would who might be looking to do a piece and might be looking for quotes. Uh, how much does this also, as part of your process, do you also rely on social listening tools for doing research or identifying opportunities for your clients?
You mean like a tracking tools or
Yeah,
for?
there are many social listening tools available out there in the market, right?
Mhm.
So do you do that kind of research? Does it require that kind of research, or is it more that you're just understanding the client story, and then it's more about building the story and going for an inbound or an outbound?
Yeah, social listening tools can be good to gauge positioning of opportunities. It's
Hmm.
more. I mean, we do a lot of very very strong tracking post pitch. Which is
Okay.
where we can talk about that at some point if you want. But no, I would say it's not an important part. The most important part is the association of that spokesperson, and then the client, or if you're doing this yourself, is to be as flexible as possible broadly within the topicality of your niche. So
Okay.
you are never going to find ideal opportunities specifically about the very precise thing that you want to talk
Hmm.
about. So
Hmm.
I see this a lot with the SaaS. Some very specific websites. Let's say that you own and operate a email deliverability tool. Okay.
Right.
Now, an email deliverability tool can definitely engage in digital PR and win huge backlinks. But
Right.
the journalists are not writing articles about email deliverability because it is boring and it just
Hmm.
doesn't
True.
happen.
True.
But you can definitely be an email marketing expert, which puts you in that broader, marketing expertise. And there are
Hmm.
loads of opportunities for expert marketers to engage journalists. We see loads of inbound opportunities from places like Zapier, HubSpot,
Right.
Forbes, big websites. We also see you can do outbound opportunities as long as you're prepared to be really, really flexible. So you could talk about things that are newsworthy. So, big mistakes people make with email, how to protect
Right.
your inbox. There's many, many different angles, but it's not going to be specifically about your tool and the functionality of, let's say, a new aspect of your product that is going to be talked about in the mainstream media.
And Chris, and this sort of this is quite interesting that you just said, and I'm just wondering, does it? So one is the tier one publications, right? The big boys out there. Then there's also what we call as trade media, right? And
Hmm.
so you named the likes of HubSpot, so ZPS. They're not particularly trade media, but yes, they are highly authoritative in terms of online visibility. Are there any specific? Do you guys also have any specific trade media outlets as well whom you target?
Yeah, so for us, it's all about tier one publications. So yeah, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily put Zapier in the same category as the New York
Yeah,
Times in terms
exactly.
of
Yeah.
journalists, in terms of mainstream media, but it's definitely editorial, tier one editorially written content. So we're targeting journalists and obviously writers that are working for authoritative websites. So as long as it's earned media, as long as these websites have huge authority, which we measure with DR, which is Ahrefs metric, and huge organic traffic as well. And many of these writers that write for such publications will have huge authority in of themselves, which is a really key and vital thing. So what we don't want to see is we don't want to see we want to see tier one writers and journalists basically, and you can see this based on the work that they've previously done. Many of these will be on like journalist platforms such as Muckrack, and you can look at their body of work and you can make an assertion as to the quality that's being delivered. And you can know that, for example, Ahrefs had sourced recently for a lot of inbound stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, while I wouldn't put Ahrefs's website in mainstream media,
Right.
for a marketing client, that's possibly the holy grail of links that like a marketing company or brand could get. And we assess all of that in house, and we maintain a rigorous blacklist as well. So yeah, we're continually monitoring the publications and the writers, the combination of the publications and the writers that write across multiple publications, and then we're tracking whether or not we deem that worthy to be pitched, and if not, then we'll blacklist and we won't pitch again.
Oh, okay, okay. And you talked about some of these platforms where we can see prior work of particular journalists and such kind of people. Would and that sort of kind of brings me to the next question, which is around influencers, right? There is a huge market out there where there are all kinds of influencers sitting out there. So do you also see influencer marketing being sort of playing a role in that tier one editorial space, or is it only mainstream media?
Yeah, no, I unless they're. I mean, for us, the deliverable is the link, and the metric that we measure that deliverable against is DR and traffic. So, um, one of the added advantages of digital PR is, and this doesn't really answer your question because I would say like the influencer space isn't something that we target, but because we are targeting influential publications, they
Hmm.
will almost certainly maintain very strong social profiles alongside the publications. So if we won, let's say, a client a link on the New York Times, then that journalist that has published that article is going to be publicizing that on their personal socials, and then obviously the New York Times socials will also be pushing that content. So another added advantage of winning links in mainstream media or tier one publications is that you also get a big social push from those editorial publications, which means it drives referral traffic as well to those newly published articles. And hopefully people click on those links, and it's not just an orphan link on an orphan page. It's something which the publication is actively pushing to generate traffic, clicks, interest. So yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And coming to the aspect of the aspect of storytelling, if you could share some of your experience in terms of, given the fact that there is so much going on in the world all the time these days, right? I mean, and that's how it has been now over the past few years particularly. Do you see any sort of influence coming in from the cultural context to your for these campaigns, for those strategies that you're building out for your clients?
But how do you mean, like different cultures influencing the?
So, for example, let's take that example of the SaaS
Mhm.
company, right? And say suppose they're based out of the UK and they want to enter the Australian market, for example, or they want to become more visible there. Uh, Now there are certain, there might be certain cultural nuances that need to be understood. So, do you see those influencing the stories you're building out for a client, or you think that they are more global, so they're pretty much applicable across the board?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. Yeah, I would say so. Digital PR for us, we is primarily or almost exclusively US and UK publications. Um, we do sort of dip into the Australian, Canadian markets, but the most receptive markets are US and UK. So if we're working with a client that
Hmm.
is operating outside of that market, then again, uh, I would say you do need to have that cultural alignment. It's not impossible, but the strongest route to success is to have either a US or UK based spokesperson from the website. That again is not essential, but as long as the person has got a strong profile. So if we work with many Indian companies, Eastern European companies, as long as that spokesperson's got a strong profile, so good LinkedIn account, lots of connections, lots of activity, nice looking website, then we do still do really really well. In terms of the narratives behind the stories, I'd say it's usually universally quite universal. Um, if you're doing an expert tips piece or you're reacting to the news, then it's going to be broadly sort of US, UK, Western centric in terms of the content that we're providing, but it's going to make sense globally anyway. So, yeah.
Okay. And how important, do you see the idea of storytelling? So I'll tell you where I'm coming from. Many times, I've seen businesses looking at PR as a sort of a series of drops, right? Which you do at a certain clip. And what happens is that at the somewhere down the line, the origin strategy or the communication strategy that was built out tends to sort of slip through the cracks. Uh, at least the pieces of it, if not the entirety of it. So, how important do you see that element of storytelling, maintaining an arc over a certain period of time, as an indicator or as a driver of success when it comes to digital PR and link building?
I would argue not that important. The most important
Okay.
thing is to be tapped into the current news cycle, which is where you need to have that adaptability as a brand. You can still 100% maintain a brand voice, a brand message, a stance, but you need to have that
Mhm.
flexibility to be talking about things that are happening in the news now, and you need to be reacting to that current news cycle. So you must have that flexibility because it's all, don't forget, as SEOs and link builders, like that is not the objective of the people that we're engaging with. Their
Right.
their objective is to produce newsworthy content that gets clicks and drives traffic to their publications. The
Right.
quoting of an expert or linking back to a source that they've used is a byproduct of that engagement. So uh, let's take, for example, the email deliverability SaaS tool. That they're not going to be able to create a story arc in and around the business of the importance of email deliverability and have that thread running through all of their digital PR. I mean, they could do, but they're not going to get any coverage, so it would be pointless. Whereas they
Right.
can maintain their spokesperson and engage the media in what's happening. So they're going to be wanting to target things that resonate with their brand. So if there's been a big email hack or a data leak, then as experts in that broader field of technology and email marketing, then they can engage the journalists in a much broader way, while still positioning themselves as broader experts within the field. So I think flexibility is the key.
Right. Right. And so, in your experience, how would you define an impactful story? How would Chris or Linkify say that, okay, this story that we have done uh, has had a very good impact?
In terms of the results of the campaign.
Yeah, in terms of the results, in terms of the even the qualitative aspect of it, I think many times, you might not, and I'm not sure if you've witnessed that. Sometimes, a backlink might not throw up so much of traffic in the short term, but it sort of keeps giving over the sort of a medium term to long term range. So how would you define, that a particular story or a campaign has been impactful?
Yeah, that's again a good question. So for us, the deliverable is the link. So a truly successful campaign would be lots of links. However, a
Mhm.
really successful campaign would be the links plus a bunch of coverage that may not necessarily meet that criteria of a billable link, but because it's been so widely adopted by the media, it's picked up a bunch of unlinked mentions and syndications along the way as well. So that would be a truly viral campaign. um,
Mhm.
and we do see that happen, and that can have significant impact, and that can also prolong the success as well of a campaign, simply because it gets re-picked up by other publications. So if something does really, really well, it's going to have that first wave of initial success getting picked up, and links from a bunch of sites. Then a bunch of other sites are going to see those tier one sites that have written about it, and maybe they'll write about it as in their own way. Maybe they won't link, but maybe they'll mention the people, the brand behind the story. So you'll get unlinked mentions, and just that depth and breadth of coverage, outside of simply the deliverable link, is what I think every digital PR firm is striving for. So that truly viral nature of a campaign. I mean, that is hard to achieve,
Right.
which is why I think a lot of
Yeah.
digital PR agencies now focus on a set number of links, and they'll sort of pitch until they land those links. But yeah, that would be a truly um,
Exactly. That's what I was coming to, because you can't define the criteria for virality, and frankly speaking, even if you were to do that, that would vary for business to business, sector to
mm,
sector.
yeah, 100%.
That's interesting. And I want to jump into, at least that's my area of interest always, about the possibilities side of marketing, and that brings me to AI, right, or the emerging tech that's
Hmm.
there. And you talked about LLMs a short while back. So I would want to understand. It's still a little bit of an enigma for a lot of marketers out there. While there are certain good practices, and so to look at their content strategies, and everyone's trying to get visible in AI overviews, or perplexity results, or chat gpt results. Is there a way for using digital PR to become more visible in that space faster?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because, unlike traditional SEO, which is still an enigma for us to uncover, but we have so many clever people continually testing, and seeing the results of those tests, and it gives us a really good idea of what
Hmm.
we need to do in order to get on the first page of Google in the top positions. LLMs is still very early technology, and I haven't got definitive results. Like, if you engage in digital PR, you will appear in Perplexity or AI overviews in Google or X, Y, and Z. It's difficult to um, It's a difficult and early thing for us to define. But early results are suggesting that, much like Google uses tier one links by way of votes of authority in order to rank content within its SERPs, I think it would be fair to surmise that
Right.
LLMs are using trusted sources to as training
Mhm.
data. We have seen some early studies which have made a somewhat unsurprising correlation between websites ranking on the first page of Google and appearing in LLM results. So, not really a surprise there. But again, is that causality? Are they in spots 1 to 5 on the first page of Google, and therefore LLMs are using that in order to surface the content to their users? So yeah, I'd say it's early, and I'd say you'd want to optimize for where you're getting the most amount of traffic. But if you're going to use digital PR, like I
Mhm.
said, you're going to have that multifaceted advantages outside of just, okay, so I want to do some link building to do better in Google. That's great. If you're going to do some link building to do better in Google, why not do digital PR link building? Because they're the strongest, most powerful, authoritative homepage links that you can get. And outside of that, there's a good chance that that is informing the LLMs and interweaving your brand message within the AI training data, which is continually changing and updating. So get yourself like in there early. I've seen some interesting results about how brand mentions are becoming significantly more important, both for Google and for LLMs.
Mhm.
And obviously, brand
Right.
mentions are another significant byproduct of digital PR. So while I can't give you a definitive answer, Shiv, my
Yeah.
assumption would be that all is good with digital PR, and hopefully it benefits. The benefits are beyond that of just the SEO impact.
Sure. Would it be sort of fair to say that right now with LLMs, the results are more correlative than being deterministic? Is that
Mm.
fair?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. Again, it is really really interesting. I don't know if you've played with some terms and stuff. Locals really interesting, especially I live in a reasonably small town, and I'll test the LLMs for recommendations of places in my town.
Hmm.
And obviously, I know my
Hmm.
town, and sometimes it'll spit out
Right.
absolute garbage. Where I've asked for the best X,
Mm.
Y, and Z restaurant,
True.
and what it recommends either don't exist anymore, or I know for a fact are not the
Right.
best. So I think Google probably still has the upper hand there. I imagine that's likely down to their maps and the data, the huge amounts of data
That's
that
correct.
they've got with
Yeah.
maps.
Yeah.
Um, so I imagine there'll be a correlation between LLMs are going to want to be making good recommendations on local searches, but I just don't think they have the data for that. So maybe they're relying on SERPs, maybe they're doing some form of aggregation of SERP and user. I'm not 100% sure, but I think.
So I think I can add some
Mm,
value there because so I'm not sure if you're aware of the data provenance initiative. So this is an industry body that's been doing some research. About a year back, they published a research where they monitored search result data and website terms and conditions and robots.txt policies uh, to see how easy or not that easy it is for AI search engine crawlers to crawl those particular websites. And and this sort of links back to the tier one publications that you were mentioning
mm,
earlier. So what they found between 23 and 24 last year, when they published the study over a period of a year, that roughly 40% of there was a 40% uptake in the websites that were disallowing AI crawlers to crawl their website for
mm.
content. either through terms and conditions or through robots.txt or both. All the authoritative websites, like you mentioned, New York Times and some of these, big ones, they have explicitly disallowed AI
Mm,
crawlers on their website.
interesting.
And maybe, that links back to what you're just saying, and maybe that's why LLMs are still throwing up dated
Mm,
data. Because obviously these authoritative websites, uh, pretty much, I mean, it's their content, there's a copyright that goes with it. And so they're doing it to protect their IP for
mm.
sure. So we that's one thing that I'm not surprised either, that if it is still not throwing up the best possible results, because there is a lot of resistance to AI crawling. At least, I mean, that's what the data showed.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And that brings me to, the most one of the rather a sensitive area of this is the data privacy and the ethical marketing side of it. Is it something of concern to your clients, or is it something that your clients discuss with you, you know when you're building out these campaigns for them, or is it something that's not much of relevance, at least for digital PR and link building?
I mean, it can be, but I think most either prospective clients or certainly current clients know that we need that flexibility. I think the important thing to know with digital PR is it's almost exclusively positive. Um, so we get sign-offs from all clients in the stories that we run, or certainly the freedom to engage the media on their behalf. So I would say it's not a significant issue. I think it does become more of an issue the more upstream you go in terms of clients. So once you start getting that enterprise
Okay.
level clientele, the red tape goes up
Mhm.
and the ability to execute good digital PR goes down. That's not always the case. Sometimes you'll work
Yeah.
with an enterprise company who's like, "Hey, look, you've got free reign. We just
Yeah.
want links. Go for it." They're obviously the dream clients, but you'll also get clients that want to like see every I and cross every T. And digital PR, it's about speed, it's about creativity, and red tape stifles both of those things. So I would say, yeah, again,
Right.
flexibility.
And do you so you just said speed, and I'm just asking, what digital PR? So I'm a digital marketer at heart, so I know that A/B testing is pretty much the foundation of what we do. Does that also play a role in digital PR, or it's not as much?
Yeah, it's certainly for things like headlines. You can run batches.
Hmm.
Let's say I had a client who was a high end fashion designer. Okay. I haven't, but let's say I did.
Hmm.
Then obviously we had the Oscar results last night. So when I talk about speed, that wouldn't
Yeah,
be trying to put a story together today. That would have been putting a story together at the tail end of last week, ready for today, because obviously we don't know who was wearing what until it happened last night. But if you had the
exactly.
structure and the bones of a story, maybe we could have some ideas of how to react. Maybe somebody wore a particularly interesting outfit. Maybe something happened on the red carpet where someone slipped on some high heels, or anything like that. If we had the structure and the bones of some sort of story, plus we had an email list already of all of the journalists that we know would be receptive to this story because they've written about Oscars or fashion historically. Then that would then allow us, let's say, first thing this morning to have gone, oh, okay, somebody fell over on their high heels. We've got a fashion expert designer. Let's talk about, just do a super
Right.
quick expert tips piece on, expert fashion designers gives 5 tips on how you can make sure you don't fall over on your heels at a big event.
You talked about, you mentioned something very interesting, that even today Google has a lot of better standing in terms of the quality of search results it throws up compared to LLMs. So where do you see link building uh, going, maybe in next 5 years or 10 years, given the fact that we know that LLMs will get better, they will get smarter? How do you see, do you see anything sort of changing in this world of digital PR and link building?
Oh, so that's a good question because I mean it's changing so fast, isn't it, Shiv? It's unbelievable to
Yeah,
keep up with.
yeah,
I think I think digital PR link building it will be a good focus for a broad range of companies, both in terms of size and positioning. Um, I'm not sure how Google will see links in the coming years. I don't think Google will be the dominant search engine. I think we need to optimize against all search. I think links will probably and likely play more of a significant long term role for local businesses. Um, I still think Google is an amazing resource for local search. I have Perplexity on my phone. You know, I've got TikTok, I've got YouTube, and I've got Google. So I'm a
yeah,
multi-platform searcher, and I still use
right.
Google for. You know, I was just in London this weekend, and I was using Google for local search. So I still think local will be certainly for years to come a big driver in Google, and therefore I think link building for local businesses, both in terms of digital PR, but then also things like powerful citations and local links as well, charities, local business associations, that sort of thing. Um, I think that will still play a significant role. And then as well as I think it's going to be industry by industry. I think for as long as it's an important part of that industry. I know link building is just like a normalized part of budget for casinos. So
Yeah,
if your
yeah,
competitors is building links at a pace and volume that you aren't, then they're going to do better than you. So you'll need to maintain your link building for as long as they are. But yeah, it definitely will be interesting to see because nobody's got a crystal ball, and I think even if you could guess what happens in the next 6 months, then it could change, a week after that. So we just got to keep, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's the world we have stepped
yeah,
into now.
100%.
Uh, Particularly with how AI has been sort of shifting marketing at a broader level, and you just mentioned something very interesting. You talked about being local, and you talked about how at a broader level it will continue to play an important role, which I also believe that's the case. When you say local, in some ways, there is a lot of local. Obviously, requires a fair amount of personalization in the kind of content you're pushing. Does that also sort of play into the strategies for digital PR and link building?
Yeah, I mean, I think local is a really underutilized. I think digital PR is completely underutilized for them. So
You couldn't have said it any
yeah, they
better.
are
I
they are
agree.
absolute experts in what they do, and more often than not, that uh, the expertise or the businesses, the local businesses they're operating in, are normally very very PR friendly businesses. So if we've got lawyers, doctors, plumbers, HVAC experts, pest control, all of these
Exactly.
industries
Yeah.
are they have 100% expertise. The guy who's got the pest control business is going to be a pest control expert. And as we enter the summer months, pest control, bug prevention, all of this is continually in the news. And they have the opportunity to go and get themselves some amazing links and coverage. So, which is why I think it's a really, really great space to be in. And they can absolutely dominate their competition simply by imagine there's a couple, let's say 2 3 pest control businesses in any given area. If one of those businesses has just been featured in the Mirror, the Sun, New York Times, New York Post, and the competitors haven't, what do you think that's going to do for the authority of their website, their keyword rankings, and then
True.
their leads? It's just there for them to take. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving forward, you mentioned something interesting a short while back. You talked about overall digital PR has a strong positive spin or approach to how you take the client stories to the market. Do you also do some kind of sentimental analysis for them as part of your reporting, and in terms of as part of the impact analysis?
We don't. Like I said, for us, it's just sort of the link as the deliverable. However, you can. There are some really great tools that you can use. Coverage book is one. You can input the coverage that you've won, and that will spit out like a really nice report that will show
Mhm.
the reach in terms of X millions of views, the clicks. It'll show you it'll give you like a sentiment of the sorts of coverage that they've got. So you can do that. But again, I mean, we're an SEO focused digital PR agency. So for us, the deliverable is the link. But yeah, I mean, I think that is possibly a way that the industry is moving as well, especially as we get more competition amongst digital PR agencies entering the space. If you could offer more than just okay, here's a great link. Here is also how we were able to influence public perception, let's say, about your brand, or how we were able to position your brand in a more effective way to the competition. Then I think these are add-ons or parts of a service that could be beneficial to potential clients as well. So yeah, it's a good point.
How do you measure the success of the campaign? You talked about the links, right? The links, and of course the quality in terms of the how the tier one publications. But do you start any sort of specific KPIs that you predefine before at the beginning of the campaign, and then you sort of look at hitting those KPIs?
For us, it's we offer a guaranteed average DR 70. Um, we don't we don't
Okay.
set a minimum on traffic simply because um, it, it's normally in the millions of organic monthly sessions from the domains that we win. Um, in terms of the actual impact for the client, again, we are the SEO link building arm of whatever else they're engaging with. So as long as they've got a robust content strategy, then we're the links, we're the fuel to the fire. We don't do anything else, so we don't do content or advise on content strategy. But most clients that approach us or want to work with us, they normally have everything else sort of handled. They may already have existing link building strategies that are running as well, guest posts, niche edits, that sort of thing. And they simply want to
Mhm.
build the authority of their overall domain. And the way that they do that is with digital PR. And the way that we guarantee that is the quality of the links that we deliver.
What are some of the common challenges that businesses face, particularly when they're implementing digital PR strategies? And I think it will be helpful if you could also share, how they can, what they can do to overcome them.
Yeah. So the first one I would say is to make sure you've got that about page and spokesperson associated with the website. I mean, that boils down all the way back to your EEAT as well. I mean, I've come across prospective
Right.
clients. They've got beautiful websites. Maybe it's a SaaS business, maybe it's an e-commerce business. Nice, healthy DR, maybe a DR 60. Maybe they're getting 200,000 sessions a month, 250,000, 300,000 sessions a month. Everything looks really,
Hmm.
really juicy, really tasty. It looks great. And then I'll sort of think, okay, so these guys have emailed, they've made an inquiry. Let me go and see what this business is about, who's behind this business, and I can't find anything from the about page, from the website. Maybe it's like a holding company that owns it. I have to dig into the T's and C's to see like a LLC holding company. Maybe then I can
Hmm.
find like a LinkedIn, and maybe then I can find two or three people associated with the business.
Yeah.
But once it starts becoming that difficult to find the human behind the site, or a human, or the team of humans behind that website, that is an issue, not only in terms of your ability to engage in digital PR, but also it's a real issue for your customers, and it's a real issue for Google, both algorithmically and potentially manually
Right.
as well. So I think it's a real common thing. I don't know why people don't do it. I mean, if you are a real business, which many of these are, there's no doubt that they're a real business.
Yeah.
But sort of the first thing that you do is you go and get those basic social profiles. You put the people about the business on the website with like a bio. You link out to a couple of social handles that are behind that person, and you tell both the customers and the algorithms who's behind the website. So I think it's a real common mistake, and I'm surprised that I still see it in this day and age, especially when we had the whole EAT, everyone talking about EAT
Yeah,
18 months ago or whatnot. It's still something which I see, which I think is an issue and can be easily addressed as well.
that makes a lot of sense. And Chris, I think this is very important in terms of having done so much, right from your personal finance to your own website, and being here with building Linkify. What personal insights or lessons that you've learned throughout your career, that could inspire other marketers to to innovate their strategies. Because what I'm hearing from you is that, so one is the hygiene side of it, but the other side is looking at digital PR and link building as a core sort of contributor to their strategies. But at least people that I have interacted with, or I know in my network, they don't particularly prioritize it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Um, just be adaptable, and be continually learning, and don't sort of just, if you're still seeing stuff that's being written that seems outdated. Many people are peddling
Hmm.
the same old stuff, but we are in the most significant, I think, shift for everything. So you need to be in AI. Um, we're implementing, workflows and automations throughout our business, both in terms of operationally for Linkify and executionally as well for the things that we do. And you need to be ready to
Okay.
change and shift at the drop of a hat. Everything is moving so quickly. Follow people that are talking about new stuff, and start testing and implementing on your own end as well. Don't think that, like, if you're an SEO agency, that delivering 3K monthly packages with content and some optimizations is going to be a viable business in the next 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. Like, everything is changing so quickly, and that's fine, but we have to be testing, and we have to be finding pain points and how we can deliver stuff that to people that addresses those pain points, whatever that may be, in whatever guise that may be. But we have to be ready to make changes, learn new skills, and implement them.
Wow. No, you have said it very well, because this is something that, even I'm particularly always helping people out and trying to make them understand that adaptability is the
Mm.
key. And one question more, Chris, because just I think it's important to understand digital PR, particularly the link building part
Mm.
of it, right? There, and because it is so well enmeshed with the with SEO, is there a strong technical aspect to digital PR and link building, or it's not? I mean, I'm saying from the perspective of the client. So you talked about adopting AI and
Mm.
automation in your execution, but from a client perspective, do they need to have understanding of certain technical aspects to be able to appreciate the real value of digital PR and link
In
building?
order for them to execute themselves, do you mean, or no?
No, in order to, so if they are onboarding Linkify to help
Mm.
them out, so is there a technical aspect that they should be well versed with?
No, not for them. No, that's all. Yeah, handled
Okay.
by us. But yeah, on a technical level, for us on execution, this is where the game will be changed. So, in terms of setups, engaging journalists, ideation, and data, all of these things are going to be, the winners will be those that can do that with automation and AI, I think. But on a client perspective, yeah, just have those basic things in place that we talked about right at the beginning of the show. That clear, uh, easily identifiable spokesperson with qualifications and experiences that are in that broad niche in which the business is operating.
Cool. Chris, I would like to personally thank you for an incredible deep dive into this world of digital PR and link building. It's really fascinating, and it's amazing to hear what you guys are doing, particularly for fast growing businesses across industries.
Thank you.
And I just want to put in a word to all likely marketing followers. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. As a special thank you to Chris, please follow Linkify. I'll drop in a link to Chris's LinkedIn handle and Linkify. Chris, I can thank you enough for sharing your expertise to with us
Thank you,
today.
Shiv. And if any of your audience wants, I've got a free cheat sheet that they can get, which tells them exactly how they can go and get their first 5 tier 1 links on their own. It's jam packed. It's at linkify.io/cheat dash sheet. And that's completely free.
That's cool. And I'll link that in the description as well. Chris, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you
Thank you.
again.
Thank you,
It
Shiv.
was nice
Thank
talking
you.
to you.